Hi folks, welcome to today's color process video. Okay, so today's video is going to be back to doing the whole real-time thing rather than doing time lapse. Also forgive the get up, but it's quite cold here at the moment and unfortunately the place I live in isn't exactly the warmest, so this is my this is my central heating, or my cost-efficient central heating. Okay, so let's get down to it with today's comic. You may notice that with today's comic, I wanted to kind of continue what I did with last week's badly drawn dolphin comic and do something that would be visually interesting, and that would be a bit of a just a little bit of a challenge to draw, like nothing too difficult, but just make something a bit more, visually interesting than just having dolphin in a flat ocean and leaving it at that. So I went with what you see before you today. Now, originally I was thinking of doing something that would be fairly meta, like self-aware in that, or yeah, self-aware in that dolphin or badly drawn dolphin would be interacting with themselves. However, I couldn't really come up with anything, so instead, um, the comic you see before you today is what resulted, and I'm really glad it turned out this way. It's nice to do like some ocean scenes that are a bit more interesting, and there's a lot more going on than what I would usually do in the past, especially with these comics. Um, Now, the water itself, I very much use the trick used by Jack Kirby, who, if you're at all familiar with his work, and I referenced his work in the last badly drawn dolphin comic, he used a thing that has come to be known as Kirby Crackle, which he would use primarily to depict like cosmic energy and energy blasts and things like that. But interestingly, he wouldn't just use Kirby Crackle for that. Like sometimes he would use it to render fire and other times water. So I decided to give that a shot, and that's what you see before you today, like where I've kind of gone for these like large white circles against like a black background. And now I haven't done it near as well as Kirby would have done it. Like he made it look absolutely effortless. Whereas mine, it's a bit messy in places, but it's interesting. It's just one of those kind of catch-all things that I like, that where you can use a single kind of mark or drawing effect to, or drawing effect to get across all manner of different effects depending on the context in which it's used. So here, I simply do these spiky lines, and then in like within, I just do all of this, and there's a lot of room. Pardon me. There's a lot of room for improvement here, but this is certainly the best attempt I've done at trying to create like a very tumultuous kind of sea scene. That doesn't roll off the tongue very well, does it? Anyways, and another thing I've been trying to do with my latest comics is to just have fun with like adding in spot blacks manually. Typically, say spot blacks, like all these areas here filled in with black, and here, and you why is that not moving? And over here, typically what I would do with a lot of my comics is I would leave all this, like all the inside of here, blank, and then when it comes to preparing the line work for coloring, I'll simply select that area and fill it with black. And while that is very handy for saving both time and ink, I don't know, there's just something about manually added spot blacks that I find looks really nice, especially when you can actually hold the final page. In fact, hold on, I'll show you. Rather than telling you about it, I'll show you. But like the fact that I'm able to hold this page, like look at this page, and you can see like everything is filled in there, even down here, and you know, it's nice to have an object like that. And it's the one reason why I don't know if I could ever fully go digital with my art. It's not like, I mean, I would like to try my hand at doing fully digital art, like from the drawing right up to the coloring, but the one thing I would miss doing my art that way is just the lack of a final like physical object that I can hold and look at and, you know, inspect up close. Like, I mean, okay, you can do all that barring the holding part with a digital file, but it's still not quite the same, you know. It's there's something about there's just something nice about having something like a final result you can look at and like hold and yeah. Let's just get the dolphin filled in here. Excuse me. Now, because of all the spot blacks, another advantage that leaves is also, pardon me, I ate a bit too much chocolate, some kind of a ever so slightly windy, which I'm sure you want to hear about. In fact, pardon me for a sec. I'm just going to take something for heartburn here. One of the great things about being in your 30s. Okie dokie. So, as I was saying, one of the big advantages to rendering everything like this, like doing all the spot blacks physically, you know, traditionally, is that as a result, there's not all that much to actually color, really. Like the spot blacks kind of do a lot of the grunt work for you, and then it's just a matter of just adding a touch of color to those. And let's see how this looks. Ooh, that actually does not look too bad. But yeah, going back to doing, you know, all the line work and the spot blacks by I was going to say by hand, but traditionally, that's something I used to do with my comics all the time. You know, rendering the spot blacks by hand rather than just doing it digitally. Which, you know, I don't mean that to make me sound full of myself or that, you know, doing it traditionally is inherently better than doing it digitally, because it isn't. But I don't know. There's something about doing stuff like on the page that feels good, and like I used to do it all the time with my comics, and gradually I stopped doing it, or I started doing it less. But yeah, every now and then it's just nice to go back and kind of connect with a page that way, just by doing everything, doing everything, you know, with just you know, a pen and paper. So I don't know if these will be the actual colors I'll go for with the water, but for now, as I've said before, just a matter of getting the colors laid down, and then I can worry about tinkering around with things later on. What time are we at? It is 1:30, which means I have to reshare yesterday's comic. Yesterday's comic for the public um, would have been the kind of 1984 Garfield comic I did. Let's see now. So just it's a thing I do, just where I like to reshare my work just to make sure all my followers can see it. Also, that Garfield comic went down really well. I mean, I wasn't surprised it did, because people seem to really lap up Garfield parodies, especially dark ones. But even I was pleasantly surprised at how well it did. Okay, I think maybe that water I might go for a more. Let's see about going for a more kind of purple color. Let's see how that looks. There's something about that looks nice. Okay, and for the sky, I might actually go for a green color, at least for the first two panels. One thing I've noticed, pardon me, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Okay, so one thing I've noticed with really thundery skies is they can be very strange colors, at least in certain parts of the world. Like here in Ireland, where I live, our thunderstorms, if you can even call them that, tend to be fairly boring affairs. There's not really all that much going on in terms of like weird colors or anything like that. It's just, dark clouds. That's about it. However, I remember there was one time, and it's always stuck with me. I got caught in a major thunderstorm. Well, it seemed major to me at the time, but I got caught in a thunderstorm in Toronto. This would be 10 years ago, come to think of it, 2009. And the first thing that struck me when I was, before it properly started, was like the color of the clouds, which I'd never seen anything like it before and haven't really seen anything like it since. But the clouds they were really dark, but they also had this kind of weird green color to them, which gave the entire moment this very unearthly kind of feel. And I I love thunderstorms. I will say that right now. Like I really do. And just that moment, it has always kind of stuck with me since. Like I would love to. I would love to see clouds like that again, but have never quite seen anything like that here in Ireland. Like we have our moments, but we don't seem to get quite the same extreme kind of conditions you've well, it's not there's not even like there a seeming about it, we just do not get the extreme conditions you see in other countries around the world, which on one hand is a pretty good thing. I mean, it means that we don't get we don't get the kind of conditions that lead to, well, for the most part, we don't get the kind of conditions that lead to catastrophic events or anything. We don't get tornadoes, we don't get like hurricanes. Like we get like we do get thunderstorms, we do get like very heavy rain and whatnot, but we never get anything quite as catastrophic as you see in other parts of the world, which I suppose well, there's no suppose about it. It is nice. It is nice to not have to worry about that. But at the same time, part of me would love to experience more like, you know, unearthly thunder showers. Oh, pardon me. I have a bit of a cold, so I'm very snuffly. I'm going to see if I have some tissue here I can use. Actually, pardon me for a sec. I'm going to sort all this out, and yeah, at least I probably won't be sniffing as much during this process thing. So yeah, you won't even notice me being gone, but yeah, I'll be back in a sec. And I'm back. Okay. So one of the downsides to doing a comic this way is that like rendering everything very beautifully and like spot blacks and like lots of hatching, is that while it can work quite well in black and white, pardon me, excuse me, in color, it can be very difficult to it can be quite difficult to get across the same kind of atmosphere in the color as you get in the line work, and that's going to be the biggest challenge with this comic, trying to get that same kind of, trying to keep the same atmosphere we see going on like in the line work, in the actual in the colors. Okay, so I think Dolphin, I'm going to bring up his contrast a bit just to make him stand out from the ocean a bit more. Let's see how that looks in grayscale. Yeah, there. I'm sure you can notice there's a bit of a problem with the um, contrast here between Dolphin and the ocean. Like, he does stand out, but he doesn't stand out quite enough. So I'm going to see maybe if I take the water, and if I oh, now the trouble with lightening the color of the water is it begins to blend in with the clouds. So I wonder if I really darken those colors on the water, what that will look like. Yeah, okay, that kind of works. Maybe just desaturate it a little. And I wonder if I should add some foam to that water. So let's maybe not lighten it, not go for pure white, but let's just try a lighter version of this kind of purple tone. Don't know if this works. Or does it? Let's see. Well, maybe. Hold on. Let's see. Oh no, that's too. Maybe if I go for a bit of both, like where I still have patches of the purple, but just add a bit of white to it as well. Well, again, not white, but yeah, just a lighter version of that purple. Um, yeah, I think that maybe works. Also, for this piece, while I didn't necessarily use much in the way of reference, I did look up just general photos of like stormy, unsettled seas, and I came across a painting, and I wish I could tell you who the artist was. Just I came across the painting and I just like latched upon that, and this panel here is very much inspired by that. In terms of the layout of the way I have the clouds here and the water here at the bottom, and just adding the bits of foam to it and all that. Now, the way I've rendered it obviously is very different to the painting, but it's along similar lines. And yeah, like I mean, I've already said it, but I am quite happy with how this has turned out. Um, how bold it is, and like, yeah, I really like how that water turned out. Um, yeah, okay, the foam I think really does add to it. So I'm going to get that. I just noticed there were a few spots I filled in that shouldn't be filled in. Just make sure everything is okay. Oops. Okay, so I wonder if I should change the color of the non-foamy bits of the water. Let's see. So Control or Command Shift I, that inverts the selection, which selects the not foam bits. Okay, so cancel. Maybe I bring that. I bring the saturation up. So let's see how that looks. A bit too saturated with the overlay on. So hold on. Bring up the saturation just a little. Yeah, I think that works. Okay, so these clouds. Let's see what I can do with these. Just make sure they go right to those edges there. Okay. Oops. And of course I'm on the wrong freaking layer. I hate when I do that. Okay, so let's fill that back in, lock that layer, and go back to clouds. I hate when I do that. At least I spotted it fairly early on, and you know the artwork isn't too complicated, so it's not too far gone. Yeah, the more I look at this, the more I think I should go for that kind of red color instead of green for the clouds. Maybe it's a bit more typical, but it just works better, I think, with the yeah. Okay, so I think I will just create a clouds BG layer just to save me from coloring over the existing one, and just do these background these clouds here. So that's maybe not the way I should be going. Maybe I should just go darker with it. Although, just going by my eye, I don't know if that's contrasting very well with the sky. So better check that. Excuse me. Yeah, so grayscale. Yep, I was correct. Yeah, it isn't contrasting very well, so let's darken that. I wonder, is the sky color working here? Oops, it's locked, so okay, rather than getting caught up in trying to make the colors perfect, I will start coloring that last panel, just get the colors laid down and worry about getting the colors perfect after the fact. So the effect you see here with the light rays kind of like obscuring some dolphin's silhouette, that's a trick you see a lot in comics where it's a nice little visual trick where these look like they're coming, these rays of light coming down, but rather the way it's rendered in the line work is I had the line work for you know for a dolphin like just drawn in there, and then I started filling that in with black, and then with quick strokes of the brush pen, I kind of flick up towards the center of the sun, and that gives you this. I'll zoom in a bit. That gives you this like this nice kind of gradient here where it starts off dark and gets like kind of messier and lighter as it goes towards the center of the sun, and it creates this visual illusion of light rays being cast like over an object like that. And it's something I remember. I couldn't tell you when I first noticed it, but excuse me, pardon me. It's one of those things that I remember seeing a lot in comics, and it's something I like to toy around with a bit myself, just to, yeah, it's nice to have little effects like that, just to make the just make things more visually interesting. Okay, so again, just laying down the flats here, like not really worrying too much about how things look, just to get everything down, and I can then worry about the nitty gritty little things after I've done that. Expand pixels and sky. Okay, well, that sky already isn't looking quite like I would like, so I'll mess around with that a bit after the fact. I'm kind of rambling here, so don't mind me. I'm very bad at multitasking, talking and drawing at the same time. Oh, excuse me, I'm yawning so much here as well. That's what I get for eating too much sugar. Like, I go through phases where I don't eat all that much in the way of sugar, and then I'll just binge, really badly binge, and obviously you binge on sugar, you're going to deal with a sugar crash, and that's precisely what is happening right now. In fact, I should take a drink of water. Stay hydrated, folks. Ah, yes. Okay, so I wonder, could I go for kind of like just a bold effect here rather than worrying about, what am I doing? That is the sky. It's the water I want to fill in. Yeah, that to me just looks like Dolphin is in a puddle of his own urine. So I don't think I will go for that. Excuse me. I wonder if I just went with that. Hmm. This is, yeah, this is the part that always is the worst, where colors aren't quite working as you'd like, and you just have to keep tinkering until they do. Okay, so nope, that doesn't look good. Okay, so I wonder if the water here, if it would look good if I went with the kind of the same color as the sky there. And maybe change the color of the clouds, make them lighter. I wonder. No, that doesn't quite work. So, okay, those clouds, I will lighten them a bit. I also think that sky, I need to do something with that. It doesn't quite look relaxing, does it? That looks more, that denotes more danger to me, I think, than calm. So I want, like, I want this scene to look very calm and serene. So maybe I need to lighten the color of the sky. Go for this green, maybe. Like, it's an unusual color, but it certainly stands out. The only trouble with that is the sun, then I'm guessing, yeah, oh my god, like that entirely gets lost in all that. The contrast isn't good enough. So hold on, let me see if I can, maybe if I adjust the contrast of the sun. I should stop covering my mouth, by the way. Okay, that's the contrast all the way up. Um, hmm. Okay, so and go for that color for the sea as well, I wonder. Excuse me. Pardon me for all this yawning. I'm really tired. Oy, 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 oy. Yeah, this last panel is going to be the thing that will cause me the most frustration with this comic. Mm. Hmm, hmm, hmm. Yeah, the more I look at these clouds, I wonder, do I even need to have the... Do I even need to have color in the background for the clouds? Yeah, the more I look at that, the more I wonder, should I even have these clouds be this kind of almost vibrant color? So let's see, colorize. Hmm. Actually, do I even need that background cloud layer? Pardon me if I'm not exactly the most talkative right now. It may be obvious, but I'm kind of like very much in concentration mode here right now, trying to figure out how to go about things here. Yeah, so obviously you've probably noticed there I've changed the color of dolphin from his typical blue to kind of a reddish tone. And my reason for doing that is just to make him pop out more from the background colors, because I mean he's blue, the sea is kind of green blue, the background is kind of a green blue. There's a lot of blue going on here, so I think I think changing Dolphin's color just to make him stand out. It may not be the most realistic thing to do, but sometimes you've got to do that. You've got to go with what will make a character stand out. So I think that's the way to go here. Okay, so I wonder actually just to have a nice repeating thing going on, if I went with a similar color to the sky here. Hmm. I wonder, is that maybe a bit too much? Maybe if I desaturate the sky just a little. Maybe, do you know what? Maybe I'll leave it that way. Um, okay, so maybe what I should do here is just add a bit of a gradient to that sky, and just fill in these bits of the cloud that I notice aren't filled in. Oh, that's why. Okay. I think I'm getting somewhere with this. Gradually. Gradually. Okay, so as I said, maybe add a bit of a gradient to that sky. So we've got kind of a desaturated red going on. In fact, just give me one sec. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to check this on my other monitor here just to make sure the colors are working okay. And yeah, I think this is working. Make sure I get this back in the right spot. There we go. Another thing to make sure is to save my work, because I would not want to lose all this progress. Right, so gradient tool. Let's tool. Why did I pronounce it that way? Tool. Okay, so let's see how das looks. Maybe darken that. Oh no, no. think I'll desaturate that blue just a tad. Okay. That doesn't look good. That also does not look good. See, I don't want the gradient to be obvious. I just want it to be just a touch bit there, just to add a bit of depth to the sky. Sky. Why do I pronounce it that way? Yeah, you see, the red, it acts as kind of like a nice. It just adds a bit more of separation between the clouds and the outer border here, and I'm worried that with the gradient I'm just filling that space in and not creating enough contrast. So let's see if maybe adding a circle. What happens when I up the saturation of that? No. Nope. Ah, I keep doing that. Yeah, precisely what I was worried about. The adding that gradient, it looks okay, but as you can see here, it suddenly takes away from the contrast. No, that isn't good. Get rid of that. You see that, like suddenly, boom, the clouds stand out a lot more. Maybe, pardon me, excuse me. Maybe adding a gradient to the sky. Hold on. Let's try something just a little different. See how it looks when I go for a lighter tone of the red. Ah, didn't want that either. Only want this. Oh my, yeah, keep selecting the wrong stuff. There's my phone doing a thing. I wonder, does that green sky work? No, I'll stick with the red sky. The red sky with those purple clouds, it looks better. It doesn't look. I mean, it looks harsh, but something about that green didn't work. So okay. You know what? I don't think I will add much in the way of gradients to the cloud layers, to the clouds either. However, let's see if I'm maybe just coloring the line work. See how that looks. Oh, excuse me. Welcome to my video where you get to see me physically falling apart. Oh my god, I feel like such an old man today, like hiccuping and snorting and belching and the whole lot. Precisely what you lot want to spend money to see me doing, obviously. Okay, that green looks a lot better. Just I have been very fond of using like very saturated colors of late, but yeah, that just works. So let's just sort out these lines here, make them fit in more with the green. Yeah, that works better. Hmm. Actually, maybe I'll change that water just a tad. Yeah, I think that looks a bit better. And maybe desaturate it just a bit. There. Still kind of saturated, but I think that works a bit better. Right. Okay, where's the water? There. Right, getting there, getting there. Oops, notice a bit of the water is just a bit outside the lines there. Not exactly a big thing, but me being me, I kind of like to be a bit of a neat freak when it comes to. Well, that's not a good way of putting it, is it? I just like to be neat freak. That's as if being neat is a thing to be freakish about. No, I just like my colors to be a bit clean if I can, unless I'm specifically going for a messy kind of look. Right, this last panel, let's see if I can actually before I do that, let's see about just adding a touch of depth to the clouds. Oops, wrong layer. did not want to do that. Getting there. Just do the check just to make sure that contrast is okay here. Seems to be. Okay, so it's a very rainy day today, which is quite fitting for this comic. Okay, so for that last panel, maybe a nice pink kind of sky will. Actually, you know what? Let's just go into this and see what I can come up with. Oh, okay. Maybe make the water here kind of a purple color. Oh yeah. Getting there. Getting there, getting there, getting there. Yeah, this is beginning to slot together nicely. Actually, I wonder if the color of the clouds here, how that would do. Yeah, that kind of works. Then the clouds. I wonder. Oh yeah, let's just see what the contrast is like. Oh, okay, contrast is not bad. Now, I wonder what, do you know what, maybe I'll change the color of that sun a bit. Make it just a bit more saturated. Okay. Let's see. I have a feeling this won't look good, but hey, may as well try it. Ah, didn't mean to do that. Didn't mean to do that. Okay, sky. Oh, I did that the wrong way. So I want to get roughly from the center of this circle here. Okay. Yeah, what I will do is I will do the glare of the sun as its own separate thing. So let's just set that to a foreground only thing. Gradient. So I'll just call this sunshine, sun glare, whatever. Just put that beneath the sun, and I want that above the sky. Perfect. Okay, so maybe if I saturate that a bit. Okay, the sun. If I let's try this. Go from this. See, the only trouble with this is it's looking less like a background element the more I do this. Okay, let's see what happens if I do this. I think I can reduce. Okay, let's see if I go with this. Let's see how this looks. Maybe if I go even lighter. Oi, 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 oi. Okay, maybe I need to reduce that a bit. Oh, this last panel will be the death of me. Oh, but I'll do this. I'll do it. I'll figure it out, as I always do. Okay, so just make sure. Yeah, that is darker. Okay, so clouds. Clouds! Why is that doing anything? Oh, because I'm on the wrong color, of course. This is one of those cases where I did a comic where I thought, oh, this is great. This won't take me all that long to color. They're always the ones that take the longest to color. Pardon me for a sec, I just got to check something, so it'll be like I wasn't gone anyways. And back. Let's get this thing done, he says to himself. Okay, so these wavy lines here, I had in mind some kind of a nice kind of graphic effect, but I'm wondering would it just look better without these? Actually, hold on. Let us try something. Okay. Water. So let's add sun reflect. Okay. Maybe if I reduce the opacity of that a bit. Let's see what this looks like with the lines taken away. Yeah, I think that kind of works. Okay, do you know what? Let's try that again. Okay, so get rid of that. What I will do is I will select the line work here. At least that will make the selections there quite precise. Expand pixels. Okay, and then select the rest using the lasso tool. At least then the selection will, hold on a sec, the selection will better adhere to these lines. I just noticed though there's a bit here that isn't. Okay, so let's try that again. So, oops, sun reflect. Yeah, I think that works a bit better. Oops, don't want the brush, that brush tool. Okay, so I wonder what. Ooh, oops. Okay, let's see how these look like this. Maybe not that. No, let's see. This is always one of the best parts of the color process when a panel that has been frustrating you, or me in this case, begins to come together. Like you always get, or rather, I always get to this point with such panels where I think it just isn't going to work, and then suddenly just things begin to click and fall into place, and that's always a it's always a very nice feeling when that happens. Ooh, no, oops. Just go back and fix that. There. Okay, so I'm wondering if I can get these kind of sunbeams here to work a bit better than they are. So let's try something. Might not work, but hey, we shall see. No, that's a bit messy. However, hold on. Let's try this. No, that's complete mess. Ugh, absolute mess. I think this is one of those cases where less is more. Maybe if I just stick with that. Excuse me. Actually, this sky here. I think maybe if I add just a touch of purple to it, it might look good. Might being the operative word here, but sure, we'll see. Let's see, water. Let's reduce that tolerance a bit. No. I think that's okay as it is. However, hold on. No, that isn't working. So, oops. Dolphin reflect. Let's try this. Okay. Oh, no, 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 no. That does not look good. Okay, so. Oh, what's happening? Oops. What is happening? Oy. Ah. I hate when this happens. Oh, of course I've selected the wrong color. Oops, wrong place. Ah, keep doing that. One thing I keep forgetting to do that I really should do is save. I think it's been ages since I last saved, so could you imagine if I did all this and then had forgotten to save? You know, Photoshop crashed as it often likes to do. I would be turning the air a bit blue, I think. Nearly there. Just need to add a bit of shading to Dolphin. Actually, the more I look at that, the more I think I don't need to add shading to dolphin. I think I'll just leave them flat. Actually, let's just do another thing here before I go on. Well, when I say before I go on, before I finish up here, I want to make this look more like a floating panel, so let's just fill in these little spots here. That looks better. And I think I am done. Oh my. Big stretch. So yeah, I think I'm going to finish up here. So thank you very much for watching, and have a good weekend, and I will talk to you at the next video. Take care.